What is up, Mets fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Mets'd podcast. It's not a great series in Baltimore. Got swept. We're going to talk about it. It's pretty much what we're doing throughout the entirety of the season. So we appreciate you guys that are tuning in, listening, watching, whatever you're doing, taking in the Mets'd podcast content. We really do appreciate you as the dog days of summer are coming up here. So make sure you are following us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Mets'd. If you want the YouTube version of this, you can go check out the New York Mets YouTube channel and find that over there. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Odyssey, whatever it is, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download and subscribe. I have not checked, but I think we're going to take a look at the end of the episode, see if we've got any new reviews in there that we could throw some shout outs to as well. But James, still in Colorado. The art behind you is absolutely incredible. It looks like you've changed places. What's going on?
I have. I did the episode earlier in the week from just the boonies of Colorado, doing some hiking in the mountains. And now I've been in Denver for the weekend, and I'm very much staying in Airbnb that is somebody's home that I think they just vacate on weekends to use for Airbnb, which is a pretty good hustle. It's a good idea, and it's in a really nice neighborhood and affordable, so great place to stay. But as you guys can see watching on YouTube from this like exotic piece of artwork behind me and this very nice brick wall, there's strange eclectic art here, a lot of it. And I brought a couple pieces that I haven't shown Mark yet. I want to show you guys on YouTube too. Bad podcasting for the listeners, but check it out on YouTube. This is one that I'm gonna lead you in with. It's kind of cute, interesting.
Oh, interesting,
very interesting. Yeah, a woman with crazy hair coming out of her head, something kind of succulent. This next thing I'm going to show you is probably one of the more disturbing prints I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, well,
you ready for this one?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Oh. Is that a back with a face?
It's a back with a face. It looks like something that would be on like that weird Nick and Night show. Remember that show when we were growing up with the weird characters? I don't remember what it's
tongue.
called.
I think it's called like a Crazy Angry Monsters or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. But I remember now this thing's looking at me. I got to put that picture down for the episode. But yeah, straight Denver, cool city though. Very cool place. Went to a New York themed bar last night. I took a picture for the Mets'd Instagram with the Mets flag. Really nice New York bartenders in there. Very cool people. But yeah, the series with the Orioles was something. I mean, we told you guys before, this is basically one of the best teams in baseball right now, and they definitely looked it.
Yeah, no, and it also helps when James McCann gets 5 RBIs in the first game. I mean, we just had to rip the Band-Aid off there and talk about that one. It was quite literally the James McCann revenge game. You can't make it up. 3 for 3 with a walk, 5 RBIs, stolen base. I mean, yeah, James McCann, huh?
No, you really can't make it up. Going into this game on Friday night, James McCann had 10 RBIs all season, and he put up 50% of that in one game. And great stat here from game from Sarah Langs and Michael Meyer. The only 2 catchers to ever have this line against the Mets, 3 hits, a walk, 5 RBIs, and a stolen base, are James McCann and Travis d'Arnaud. And both times it happened that player's first game against their former team.
I mean, why do you got to do that to us? We're down feeling bad right now. You got to rub it in with both former Met catchers.
But isn't it crazy that it happened to both of them?
That is kind of crazy.
And this also happened on the heels of an article that came out, I believe it was Saturday morning from Newsday, where James McCann just kind of tried to flame the Mets. And that was a little frustrating thing too, because we're coming on a week where a lot of the players left the Mets, and most players had very positive things to say about the organization, their time here. And James McCann said, and we're just going to take some of these quotes here just as exactly what they were, that he was not given a chance and he didn't get enough credit for guiding the team's pitching staff.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, all right, I guess like in 180 games for the Mets, he would have 220, 282, 328 slash line for a 70 WRC plus. Like that sounds like a decent chance. He did say there was a point last year where he didn't ever start 3 games in a row. And I get that. It's because he was statistically one of the worst hitters in baseball and they were trying to win some games. Like he did play good defense. James McCann definitely did have something to do with the pitching staff playing well, but when you comments like that will always come off as whiny, and it's a little frustrating on a week where like we hear like Verlander and Marcana like speak so glowingly about their time with the Mets, and just for James McCann to come out and say this, it kind of feels like sour grapes.
Oh, it's major sour grapes. But you know what? I guess he gets the last laugh here. His team's going to the playoffs. They look really good, and he had probably the best game of his career, arguably, on Friday night against the Mets. It wasn't great. There wasn't a whole lot of positives to talk about in this one. Not really for the whole series either. Your boy Reed Garrett fortunately got smoked against his former team. Maybe they had a little something on him that they knew.
Yeah, and he was he wound up being optioned before Saturday's games to make room for Tyler McGill. And the Friday's game, like the big takeaway is that this Orioles team is so deep. Like this is the kind of lineup and like roster that I don't know what their starting pitching is going to look like in October. We saw my guy Kyle Bradish struggle a little bit with the strike zone on Sunday, and he's probably, which is crazy to say, probably their game 1 starter if things were
Jack
to start.
Flaherty now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Jack Flaherty. I mean, I don't know. There's a good chance that we're going to talk about him a little bit more about Sunday, but Shintaro Fujinami just gets back into the rotation. Looks like an ace, but like just to show like how much depth this team has. Like Colin Cowser, who was like a top 10 pick in the MLB draft, like a bona fide top 50 between top 50 and top 20 prospect across baseball. He comes into the game just as a pinch runner for Ryan O'Hearn. They picked up off the scrap heaps, 40% better than league average in the 6th inning. He scores a run there, walks his next at bat, scores another run. Another guy, Jordan Westberg, who was also a first round pick a couple years ago. He would be considered a very serious prospect for any team in the league, basically. Good power from the right hand side, decent plate discipline, has played all over the infield already. Like he just rotates in and plays like a few days a week and just mixes in. These guys don't stop. They always have a good matchup. There's so many position players in this team they can throw at you. It's a really well built roster.
Well, it's something that we've always talked about, and like stuff that we felt confident coming into the last couple of years, with the way that the roster was built, was like, hey, there's a lot of good players on this team. You're going to have the ability to shift guys, move guys around. There's no weak spots on the roster, whatever it is. And you look at all the teams that perform the best in the season, we always go back to like that Giants team. And even the Giants team right now is playing shockingly well, despite knowing that there's like no good players on that team. But like the fact that they're able to maximize their roster and use all 26 of those spots to be like productive players for their team is super, super important. It's something as like a team or a fan, whatever, you acknowledge that and you realize like, oh, they're doing something right. They're really being smart about how they maximize every single player on this team.
Yeah, just using so many players too in a given game, just using every single ball to try and win. And guys like Westberg could play all around the infield, and Cowser, who is like a really good base runner and also has great plate discipline. They mix in a guy like Ramon Urias, who plays every single position in the infield for these guys. Even my favorite utility man, Adam Frazier, coming in playing infield and outfield. Just every single guy in this roster spot has so many little different things they can do to help the team win. It's cool. And also, funny thing, I feel like this happens once every baseball season. There's always one guy who does this. And the guy this year is Michael Baumann as a reliever, who's not even having that good of a year in the Orioles with a 9-0 record.
Yeah, it's insane. I saw that the other night. I was like, just checking the box score again. I'm like, he's got 9 wins. He's 9-0. I'm like, well, I mean, how does that even happen? But you're right. That does happen like once a year. There is a guy who all of a sudden you look at like, got like 11, 12 wins and you're a reliever. Like, how did this even work? But yeah, the Orioles have been keeping games close. That offense fights back late. Like that's what happens. That's how you get a reliever that's 9-0.
And there's really a point to be made that he's probably not even one of the 5 best relievers in that bullpen.
Nope.
Like Mets fans, we saw Shintaro Fujinami earlier this year when he was a member of the Oakland Athletics, who probably couldn't be a more different organization than the Oakland Athletics, the Baltimore Orioles right now. And Fujinami couldn't find the strike zone. His splitter had no feel for it. His fastball was like very good, but it was completely erratic. He came in Friday night and he was just throwing BBs, and you're like, whoa. Yep. And then he came in Sunday. We'll just talk about it now. He almost threw an immaculate inning. He threw 103 miles an hour. He had the Mets whiffed 4 times. He only threw 9 total pitches. Like he looks like one of the absolute surefire best relievers in baseball. And he's been on this team for less than a month.
Yeah, no, it's impressive what they've been able to do with him and other guys on this team. Felix Bautista, as we know, later in this series too. We got to see him a little bit. He's cash money. Very, very good baseball team. Kind of set the tone for the entire series here with that game. 10-3, I believe they lost game 1. Just very much was like, hey, right now we're the better team than you, and we are giving it to you. And that's just kind of how it was for game 1.
Definitely. And there was a bit of a mood coming out of that game, like feeling it going into this weekend, especially after the week. So the Mets still have not won a game since the trade deadline, and they've been outscored. I have a tweet from Will Salmon right here about what it is. And again, this is after the whole series, like taking it all together. But where is this? They've been outscored 39-14 in 6 games. It's bad. Now we're the season worst, 11 games below 500. But before Saturday's game, Steve Cohen sent a letter to all the season ticket holders. And I think there were a lot of good sound bites from this. I think it was very important that Steve did that because we know how disappointed he's been. He's been like absolutely the same tone through and through. And he said, "You are rightfully disappointed. So are we. Like, believe that. We do not take your support or loyalty for granted. It is your passion that makes Citi Field such a special place." 100% true. When we purchased the team in 2020, the letter was penned from him and Alex. We said that we were doing it for the fans, the community. It's true then, still true today. And I still do believe him saying that, and that is not 100%. Where we want to be in 2023. He said that multiple times this week, many times. He's going to say it many more times the rest of the season. Our goal is to be a consistent contender. The only way to do that is in a sustainable way, build the pipeline of high-caliber talent in our farm system, and that'll fuel a major league team for years to come. And he did say that we will be competing in 2024. It's not going to be like we're going to, like this offseason, buy as many players as humanly possible. It doesn't seem like that. That's still not totally impossible, though. I mean, people change, decisions change. Decisions in the offseason are not made in August, but he's nice to see him kind of reaffirm the fans, say we are going to compete in 2024. We're going to still try to do everything we can, and just be very personable with the Mets contingency because it's been a rough week for us.
And it's super easy for them to just not say anything. That's like the really, really easy route of like, hey, you saw us trade all these guys. That's it. Like, we'll see you. We'll see you around. But like for them to come out and say that, I'm interested. It feels good for us as Mets fans. I'm interested to see what you guys think at home that are listening. Like, how do you feel about this letter that you get? It like, does it make you feel a little bit more calm or a little bit more at ease? Because we have seen Mets Twitter has been ablaze since the trade deadline. It has been just hot take left and right about this or that. It's been nuts. It's not been I like Mets Twitter, but it's not been a great place to be hanging out recently over the last week or so, and understandably so. Again, I haven't won a game since the trade deadline, so I can see why people are getting frustrated and upset. I think there's no doubt about it. But at the end of the day, just got to take a deep breath, relax. Like, just because this season may not be going as planned has no indication of how next season is going to be. And we know that there's for sure like very easy ways to improve this roster without a doubt.
And this was Gary Coleman's back on the call for the series, and we heard him a lot of comments, specifically Sunday, talking about just the way it looked, like body language. He used the term malaise a few times, and that's, I mean, baseball. Baseball, what 60% mental, 70% mental of a game. Like, there's so much that is going on inside these guys' head, like with like how hard you're competing. And you see a game like on Saturday where the top 4 hitters in the Mets order had 7 hits, and hitters 5 through 9 had 0. And you can like, it's like how to sustain that, like how to sustain that. Like, it's very difficult. And I think especially that top 4 in the order, Francisco Lindor, Nimmo, McNeil, and Pete, I think they all are doing a very good job right now of like holding their heads up high, speaking, saying all the right things to the media, still performing well on the field, still hitting as much as they possibly can. But just, you can kind of just feel this, like, again, like I think Gary's word is good, like this malaise that's like kind of falling down. And you said in the intro, like dog days summer are here. But even with that, shout out the Mets contingent getting down Baltimore this weekend, led by the 7 line. Yeah, shout out our Arancini table friends. They were down there as well. The pictures from Pickles look great. Mets fans were everywhere. A lot of people were out there having a good time. It was a full sellout down there in Camden. I'm sure the Mets fans had a ton to do with that. And awesome ballpark. Great place to watch a game.
Yeah, we went last year for the 3 games in 24 hours. It was the final spot for my YouTube video. And Camden Yards, I mean, easy to get to from New York. You hop on the Amtrak, it drops you off, and it's 5-minute Uber ride from there to the stadium. It was awesome. Friendly people, incredible food at the stadium. Again, can't recommend Boog's Barbecue enough. It was so good. And for you, gluten-free as well, because his daughter was gluten-free. What was the whole story?
Something like that, yeah. It's Boog Powell, famous power hitter for the great Orioles teams in the late 60s, early 70s. Either him or his daughter, son, someone in the family is gluten-free, and they have an entire dedicated gluten-free barbecue station with great gluten-free bread and a whole different like staging section so nothing ever gets cross-contaminated. Really great. And also, I remember your videographer that day got the crab mac and cheese.
Yes,
and he used such a hilarious word because he just
on a hot dog, by the way. This was on a hot dog.
On a hot dog. I think he said it was decadent.
Yes, he did.
And I was like, it's funny to use that word to describe something on a hot dog, but it did look decadent. And it's a great place to watch a game down there by the harbor. Pickles is awesome before and after. Amazing scene. Happy for the people of Baltimore that they're getting this success right now, which is like,
when we went to Pickles last year after the game, remember we were talking to like one of the fans. Who did he say that he knew or he was cousins with?
He was cousins. Was it Framber? Someone in the Astros.
Someone, yeah. But good group of guys hanging out there. Cheap prices, good drinks. I mean, a lot of fun in Baltimore. Wish we could have made it out there, but obviously James in Colorado. Busy this weekend as well. A lot going on. But maybe next year if they're back in Baltimore, we'll be there.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go down. Be nice to go down there for the wild card round, maybe, depending on how that division shakes out, maybe the ALDS. But again, really cool to see like how bought in this entire Orioles team is. Gunnar Henderson hit the home run off of Tyler McGill in the first inning, and he went ballistic at home plate, like screaming. The whole team was on the top deck high-fiving. Like, you're like, wow, like these guys are really, really, really rocking right now. This could be a situation where like the young team might be peaking a little bit early, especially team doesn't really have the starting pitcher and the horses to probably get through October. So I hope this Orioles run keeps going, but it's just I try to watch them a lot. I said that last episode just because they are a really fun team, really fun lineup, and a lot of amazing bullpen options. You guys know how much I love a good rotation of bullpen arms, but it's fun. And then get back to the Mets here. Tyler McGill did make his return to the major leagues. Came up right before the game. Some good and bad. He hit 99 miles an hour for the first time in a while, so really cool to see him reaching back, sustaining velocity because how important that fastball is to his success. But he did throw a lot of fastballs, about 65% of them, and the Orioles were on them. A lot of hard hit balls in the few innings he pitched. Limited damage though as much as he could. Like, I wouldn't say this was an incredibly negative start for Tyler McGill. The velocity I think was a very big deal though, and we'll got some nice runway here to see what he can do the rest of the season.
Yeah, and like relatively speaking, I mean, he did miss a lot of time last year too with an injury. So it's like there's still like that learning curve of just like getting back, getting comfortable. He's been up and down a couple different times this year. So getting back into a rhythm, I think, is one thing that will also benefit him as well, which surely he's going to be pitching a lot more this year in that rotation. But you said like the big story was that the top four guys had the 7 hits and then 5 through 9 just couldn't get anything done. Jeff, you mentioned swinging the bat well. He also spoke after the game. He had a home run, 3 RBIs. He's looked a lot better over the last, like, since the trade deadline, honestly. I feel like he's been scattering in hits more often, looking a little more comfortable. He's like, yeah, I'm just, trying to get back to where we were last year. I know this season hasn't been great. We're not happy with it. He's like, but I'm going to just try to do everything that I can to keep playing well and, helping this team win. And those are the kind of comments that I think, again, as fans, like, you appreciate, like, they acknowledge it's not going well. It's not right, but like still trying every single day, still trying to win games and not tanking, throwing in the towel or any of that nonsense.
No, definitely. You could just feel that Jeff wants to at least finish strong for just his own mental state. Like, just he got the contract. I'm sure he felt some pressure, and he's had like out of the last couple of years, like it's kind of been alternating good and bad. Like a strong finish to his season would really probably go a long way because we know he's not this bad of a player, and when he's at his best, like he is like he's basically the glue guy for this roster because he keeps the lineup moving. He plays second base and corner outfield. Like it's a lot that he can do, and we've seen him do it. So just want to see him get like very much like come back to fold here. Come back to fold.
Yeah, since July 21st, he's hitting 300 with like a 350 on base. So like the bats, the hits, they're starting to come a little bit more consistently for Jeff. Jeff swinging the bat better. And he talked about, he's like, I just need to get back to hitting singles, which is funny because on that day he hit the home run. But he's like very much like, yeah, I know what kind of player I am. I just got to, make sure I figure it out. But really not too much else. Lindor, Nimmo in the lineup again, playing well, got a double. Lindor has been raising that batting average, sneaky again. I think he was up to like 240 at one point in game 3, which I know to most people who are of the older generation of baseball fans are like 240. What do you mean he's getting it up? But like that's like a very like league average batting average. And of course, we're not a batting average podcast, but it raises everything. And the OPS is hovering right around 800, which would be among the best for shortstops in Major League Baseball this year.
Yep. And as of the end of the game Sunday, in terms of all qualified shortstops in National League, Francisco Lindor is the highest WRC plus, the highest slugging percentage, the most home runs, the most RBIs, the most runs scored, and the most doubles. And even in all of baseball, he has the 5th most stolen bases of any player that's been caught stealing 2 or fewer times. So if the season ended today, it seems like Francisco Lindor would win another Silver Slugger award. He's on pace for another 5-win season. A really hot stretch would put him back to 6 wins. It's been another great year. It's a shame that he had a slow start, and that put a lot of people off him for some reason this year. But if you look at the stats, if you look at his contribution to the team, and you look at the way he's holding himself as a leader of this team to the media every single day, answering the questions, smile on his face, like being positive, same questions every single day. He's just doing every single thing he can to be the face and the image of this team. He's probably going to win the Silver Slugger as well. Like he's a consummate professional. I'm very happy we have him on our side.
No, 100%. And that led us into game 3 with Jose Quintana on the bump, and Quintana looked good again. I mean, glad that he's feeling great, but boy, would we have loved to have had him at the start of the year too, especially with the way that he's pitched in like the first few starts as a Met. He's been awesome.
I know it has been awesome. It's just he's such a steadying force. That sinker and curveball were great playing off each other. Orioles squeak one across on an out. I think it was Natalie Rushman RBI ground ball, and that was basically it. Mets had trouble getting to Kyle Bradish, who also had trouble finding the strike zone, which I talked about Bradish a little bit in the last episode. He really, really, really leads the way with non-fastballs, and his slider was throwing it a lot. Is his primary pitch, but wasn't really finding the zone as much with it, and wasn't really mixing his curveball, which is interesting because it has been on very, very good for him recently. But Quintana was great, and like again, if he was around in May and June, like you really feel like this team probably could have won a few more of those games, and maybe this whole thing would be different. But I don't know. We can't dwell in the past anymore. We got to do that. And again, said it before. I think Shintaro Fujinami threw one of the best innings I've ever seen. He was really, really, really close to throwing an immaculate inning, which is really funny. He only threw 9 pitches and he had 2 strikeouts, and the guy looks ridiculous. You guys should check out the clip on Pitching Ninjas against DJ Stewart. He threw 103 miles an hour. 103 miles an hour. He threw 6 fastballs this inning. The average pitch velocity was 101.5 miles an hour. The average was 101.5. He didn't throw one pitch below 100. 100 pure. We're not rounding up our 99.5s to 100 here. He didn't throw any pitch below 100 miles an hour. And one ball got put in play, and it was a little dinker for 55 miles an hour exit velocity. It's crazy how quickly they've made that guy so good.
Talk about the velo too. Happy to see Mark Vientos crush a baseball or hit a baseball hard off of Felix Bautista in the 9th inning as well, off a 103 mile an hour or 101.3 mile an hour pitch, which got him a double, which was good to see. Vientos getting some playing time at third base. Working on his game. Just keep this guy playing more, and he'll continue to improve. We know he's got big power potential. Love seeing him in the lineup.
Definitely. Also, Brett Baty, I feel like, has been expanding strike zone a little bit more. Seems like he might be pressing a little bit. It's been a tough couple months for our wonderful rookie third baseman. Drew two nice walks in this game though. Two nice
Yes.
walks. He's spitting a couple easy, tough looking breaking balls. Good to see that. And Vientos is important because we have talked to you guys about where like his main hole that was like kind of keeping him from being like kind of taking the next step has been against velocity. So it's really good to see him turn around and Felix Bautista fastball because the best fastball in the league. It really is one of the best fastballs I've ever seen in my life. So really nice to see that.
Yeah, he also probably has the second best entrance in baseball outside of Edwin Diaz. When we were at the game, he came into the Wire. Was it the Wire music?
Yeah. Omar's whistle. And they do, and when during the night games, they basically do strobe lights in the whole thing. So if anyone hasn't watched The Wire, Omar Little is like, he's like the bad boy in the show. He's the guy who the gangsters are scared of because he will rob them. Like he robs the stash house. Like he's that much. He was a dog. He's the best character in the show probably. And Felix Bautista walks into his entry music. He would always like whistle when he was like coming up on people. Okay. So cool that Baltimore's like using Baltimore and they're like kind of like bringing the whole community because The Wire is like such a Baltimore show. And that everyone who's from Baltimore, like I think that's like they hold that show in incredibly high regard because of how accurate the portrayal it is. And that guy's so frightening. He's so freaking good, Felix Bautista.
What'd you think of their City Connect jerseys? Seeing them in game, what do you think of them?
I like them. A lot of people do not like them. I think that sometimes the City Connect jerseys, that simplicity wins. A lot of people will do a little bit too much in those City Connect jerseys and it becomes a little ridiculous. My one problem though, with most of the City Connect jerseys, this is true. I'm in Colorado, the Rockies. Also true of this Orioles team.
The Rockies one.
The Rocky jersey is great, but the green pants are ridiculous. And when Baltimore goes black on black, I think that looks a little bit weird. Like I don't know because if they would try to match like the fringe and do like a purple print pant, that would be significantly worse. But I think there's a better way to do pants in the City Connect jerseys. I do think that like it's simple. The black jersey is cool. We love black jerseys as Mets fans, of course. And the little fringe getting that little Baltimore action I think it's good enough. It's fine.
Yeah, I like the hat. I like the B. It's a little bit different. I think that's like the Baltimore B or whatever that they throw around. But the jersey to me is too boring. Just like the black and white with a little bit of splash, like on the sleeve that you can roll up. I think that's their whole thing. Or if you pop the collar a little bit, you can see like the flag or whatever it is that they put inside of there. But overall, yeah, I don't know. To me, they're like mid. I definitely am not a huge fan of like black on black with basketball or baseball jerseys. Although the Cincinnati Reds City Connect ones are sick. But they've got like the like black with red Darth Vader, like Darth Maul, Star Wars kind of look that I really like, where the Orioles are just pretty much black and white with a little bit of the flag stuff going on there. So I just wanted to see what you thought because I know we have very different opinions on jerseys, and I see we're very much still in differing opinions here.
Yeah, and you're the foremost jersey expert of YouTube, so you gotta get the takes off. And then that was the series. We got swept. 6 straight losses since the trade deadline. Told you guys the run differential before. It's really not good. It's not good. It's not good. It's hard to describe. The Orioles are one of the better teams in the league. I think it will be interesting for them to come home now. Game tomorrow night against the Cubs. We're going to break into that in a second. But it's just it's a weird feeling right now in Mets world. This really feels kind of similar to for the OG Mess Up listener, 2021, where it's just like it was like we were grinding so hard and eventually like it's a bend don't break, and it kind of just feels like oh man, like it's really hard to stay ahead right now.
Yeah, I mean it's not been great. I mean Binghamton did some good stuff too. Shout out Future Flushing Podcast. You guys know Vito and John do that over there. They'll definitely break it down a little bit more, but a bunch of the new guys and some of the old guys have been playing well. So keep an eye out for that. Drew Gilbert, Christian Scott updates. I think Ryan Clifford too, they'll be talking about. So make sure you guys go give them a listen over at Future of Flushing if you want to hear about some of the guys that could be on their way up soon with the New York Mets. And then you want to just talk about the Cubs series? Is it time to do some estimates type thing?
Yeah, I'm pretty much there. Also, just the Binghamton Rumble Ponies have become much-watched baseball. You guys definitely got to keep track of Future of Flushing because that rotation, basically, every single guy in there is looking like they could be a real prospect. And the lineup with Drew Gilbert, Luis Angel Acuna is like that's a formidable middle of the order right now.
In terms of the estimate, James, you got one back, cutting it back to 2. There was not a lot of home runs in this series, and kind of it's a little bit of the thing with Baltimore, as we mentioned, with that left field being so crazy. Also, Gary dropped a stat that Pete is one of only 7 players to hit a home run in Baltimore into the second deck in left field, which, if you realize it, it's even with that back of that wall. So to go high and that far, that's a pretty impressive shot. Didn't happen this week. Ooh, I got a hiccup mid-talking. Oh, that hurt so bad. That hurt my chest. Yeah, leave that one in. That one hurt. But yeah, so estimate we got sent in from John. John was not available today to join the boys. And the estimate that we will...
What's going to be the word of the episode for John? Because he's 0-4.
Yeah, I don't know, something Baltimore related. Want to go like crustacean for crabs?
Yeah, let's open that for crustacean. Crustacean's the word for John, and there's 0% chance he's going to listen back to this.
Oh, absolutely not. So he said the estimate for this series against the Cubs is going to be left on left hits because the Mets have a lot of good lefty batters, and there's going to be a lot of lefty pitchers in this one. So lefty. give the listeners at home the pitching matchups so that they know, and then I'll tell you some of the hitters that are lefty in this team's.
Pitching matchups this series, Monday, 7:10. All 7:10 games this series. It's going to be late night for the boys recording on Wednesday. But Kodai Senga versus Drew Smyly. That's a lefty right there. Tuesday, a couple righties. Carlos Carrasco versus Jameson Taillon. And then Wednesday, David Peterson, second lefty this series versus Kyle Hendricks. So maybe John was reaching a little bit. Only 2 lefty starting pitchers, but a few lefty relievers going to mix in. So there we go.
I'm not going to lie. They have one lefty hitter, I think, that plays every single day. It's Cody Bellinger.
All right, so we're doing Cody Bellinger, Daniel Vogelbach, and Brandon Nimmo hits.
And I guess if Tucker Barnhart decides to play, I guess he'll hit lefty since he doesn't switch hit anymore. And Jamer's a switch hitter. John
really mailed it. John really mailed in this one.
John tried to sell it. Obviously, on the Mets side, you mentioned that. So we have like one guy on the Cubs, and then Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, Brett Beatty, Vogelbach, DJ Stewart. I guess the Mets do have a good chunk of lefties. Omar Narvaez will probably get a game in there as well.
We do, but Drew Smyly is like, I don't even know. He's like Sandy Koufax against the Mets. We can never hit this guy.
He has been pretty filthy. Okay, total hits. I got a number.
All right, I got one too.
All right, ready?
Down, yeah.
3, 2, 1, 8.
5.
Ooh, okay. 8 and 5. 8 and 5. I figured that Nimmo's going to sprinkle in a few. Jeff's going to sprinkle in a few because he's been swinging the bat well. And Cody Bellinger, sorry, Mets fans, he's playing really good baseball. Probably going to get a couple hits. He's been fantastic this year.
Cody Bellinger looks awesome. I had a great discussion, like one of my fantasy baseball group chats the other day, just about like Cody Bellinger and how you can have as many bad seasons as Cody Bellinger. Cody Bellinger basically was one of statistically the worst players in baseball for 240 games. Hitting wise. Yeah, he's always playing good defense through and through in that. Because like after that 2020 season, it really started to kind of fall apart. Even 2020, he had a bad year, but he was still fine. But this is a guy who was over 30% worse than league average from 2021 to 2022. Non-tendered by a Dodgers team. We mentioned this a couple episodes ago. That wound up signing Jason Hayward and David Peralta to fill in the outfield for him. So they found that they thought that these lefties, Jason Hayward and David Peralta, were better than Cody Bellinger, someone who won MVP for them just 3 years prior. And
big part of their fake World Series in 2020 as well.
He's a huge part of 27% of the World Series that they won. But Cody Bellinger is having as good of a resurgence as you could possibly have right now. Since July 1st, he has a 408, 444, 683 slash line with 200 WRC plus. And that's over 133 plate appearances right there. Since July 1st, a 400 batting average. 400. Not just 400, 408. That's like, over that time, he is only striking out 8% with a 7% walk rate.
Yeah, he is quite literally, carrying the Cubs. Like they're better than we expected for sure. And there are some ball players on this team like Cody Bellinger, like Christopher Morel, like James Swanson over at shortstop. But like this team is nowhere without the offensive production that they've gotten from Cody Bellinger, especially over this last month when the Cubs have been hot and playing their best baseball. And I think they took 2 of 3 from the Braves. I think they went up at one point. It's bottom of the 8th right now while we're recording this. Again, bad podcasting, but that's fine. 6-4, bottom of the 8th. 3 more outs. They win a series against the Atlanta Braves. Watch out for those Cubs.
You just jinxed the end of that series so badly. It's kind of ridiculous.
We'll find out. We will find out on the morning when you guys are listening to this.
Yeah, this Cubs team is pesky. Nico Hoerner's having a very good season. He's a good ball player. Ian Happ is kind of exactly what he is, but he's at least a steadying force that has some power, gets on base. Dansby's had a very good year, too. That signing looks like it was done at an affordable rate for a guy who's still playing great defense. He had a real power barrage over the last week and a half as well. I think he's up to like 16, 17 home runs on the season.
17.
Yeah, he's good ball players. Some good ball players in this team. It's definitely a strange roster because they still don't have one starting pitcher who throws more than like 94 miles an hour.
Nope.
And that's even being generous to Drew Smyly. And James Taillon's had a rough season in the first year of his free agent deal. Their bullpen's also bizarre. I think a lot of the Cubs fans probably have like some bittersweet feelings coming out of the trade deadline because they didn't really seem like they were in the mix. They definitely were about to sell and probably could have gotten a haul for Cody Bellinger playing on a 1-year deal out there. And then they went on 7-game win streak just before the deadline, decided to buy just only Jeimer Candelario. Didn't really get any pitching because we saw
good
how
pronunciation,
crazy,
by the way.
Yeah, right. I got it. It's my boy. We saw how crazy the price was for pitching at the trade deadline, thinking about Drew Gilbert, Ryan Clifford, and Luis Angel Acuna. So I think it's probably priced a team like the Cubs out. Don't exactly have the best minor league depth as is currently stated. And
yeah, definitely don't have anybody.
Yeah, Marcus Stroman, old friend, use that term loosely, just went on the IL as well after a very, very, very poor month, after a really hot start to the season. Weird team, put a lot of balls in play and don't throw hard. They kind of went foil against like the rest of Major League Baseball in the way they've built and developed this like new roster. It's like not a lot of power, tons of contact. Even saying that those lines from Bellinger, basically no walks and strikeouts, just a lot of balls in play, and not even to hit that hard, that many barrels. Just really just putting it in play, finding his spots.
Well, it was
Weird
something that
team.
me and you spoke about, like, off the podcast was I was like, because you're like, Bellinger's back. I'm like, yeah, but he's still not hitting the ball hard at all. You're like, he's just completely given up on like being a hard hit guy and just like, I'm going to put the ball in play, not strike out as much and just like hope that it works. And it is for sure working because he's 10th percentile in hard hit rate. So that's even if he was hitting it hard on the ground. He's hitting the ball very, very soft, but it's working. It's getting the job done.
Yeah, something he's done, which is something he did really well when he first came up, was just having a really good understanding of the strike zone and
Yeah.
like trying and not really chasing very much. When he was at his worst the last few years, those chase rates are quite bad. And the whiff rate was always something that was not good for Bellinger because he'd always take these massive hacks while still really aligning with the strike zone. But now he's not whiffing at all. He's really shortened up. He's tightened up everything, which is really ironic considering the player that he was. And that probably means that what's going on with Bellinger right now isn't exactly the most sustainable thing, but it is something where he's just probably in a way getting back to his own basics. He's still 28 years old. Like we saw the top end of what he can do. He's reworked his swing like 4 or 5 times since that famous shoulder injury in the 2020 playoffs. Like a lot of this game, like we talked about before, is mental. And like those last couple of years, the Dodgers, it looked like the mentals for Bellinger were not that great. I remember there was a clip on Sunday Night Baseball where they were interviewing Mookie Betts. It was pregame. I think it was about 2 years ago. Yeah, it could have been last year. It could have been 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but they were like, yeah, no, they were like, what player on the Dodgers do you think could use like a fashion makeover, some new style? And I don't think Mookie knew that Cody Bellinger was walking right behind him. And he was like, definitely Cody. And Bellinger looked at him like, he was just sad. Like he was sad that like one of his teammates like kind of said he has bad style. So like it just kind of seems like it was something where, and it's so ironic with the Dodgers as well, because we see like year over year how much more they get out of hitters. Their hitting coach turned Jarred Kelenic into actually an above average hitter for about 2 full months, which is really good for him. And just the fact that like sometimes coaching just gets stale. We saw this kind of similarly with Matt Chapman coming off a major hip injury. And I'm not going to give the A's coaches any credit at all, but going to Toronto, like they really fixed a massive hole in his swing where he couldn't hit pitches top of the zone. Bellinger had a similar hole in the swing of pitches top of the zone. Really struggled with velocity for a while there. And maybe shortening up and putting the ball in play is going to get him to a place now where he's like getting better. And then once he's fully back, maybe the power does come back. But just everything you're seeing from Cody Bellinger right now makes it look like he is quite a good ball player again. He is the absolute linchpin to this Cubs roster.
Yeah, change of scenery can be huge for guys. And definitely, like, Bellinger just got to play some ball to start the year. Now he's feeling good. He's playing confident. Looks good. Is there any weird reliever in this pen that you like? I feel like we played the Cubs a while ago.
Yeah, that was like late May when things started to feel kind of weird for us. Julian Merriweather has insane stuff. You guys might remember from a few years ago, he had like this ridiculous outing for the Blue Jays against the Yankees on opening day. And it was like, whoa, this guy's throwing 100 miles an hour. That looks amazing. But then he got hurt. And there's always been injuries in Merriweather. But right now he is healthy and pitching well in that bullpen. I shouted out Mark Leiter the last time we played these guys. Great changeup. Really, really effective against hitters from both sides of the plate. He's got very interesting stuff. One of the most unique pitches in baseball up there with Kodai Senga's Ghost Fork. We're going to see old friend Michael Fulmer. He's back there in this bullpen. Hayden Wisniewski is he's a pitcher that came over in the trade that they made with the Yankees last year for Scott Efros, who's pitched like 7 innings for the Yankees since he got hurt like right away. Wisniewski has some very interesting stuff, a really good slider, weird fastball shape though. He's back with his major league team now. I think they're kind of trying to see if they can rely on him as a starter for next year's team while also giving him some run in the bullpen, seeing what the stuff is. But that's basically it for this Cubs team. They're pesky. They put the ball in play and they just play some good ball.
Fun fact: Tucker Barnhart has thrown 3 innings for the Cubs this year.
Oh,
hasn't given up a run.
Not bad.
Fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
But guys, I think that's pretty much it. I wanted to check to see if there are any reviews while we wrap up the episode here. Make sure you guys are following us on all our social media at Mets'd on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, wherever you can find some content. We will be there. Subscribe to the New York Mets YouTube channel if you want to see that. If you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, drop us a rating, drop us a review. Nobody gave us a new review, so you're not getting any shout outs today. But if you want one, give us a review, 5 stars. You know what to do. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
And me, Giraffe Neck Mark with a C. We'll catch you guys after the Cubs series. Hopefully we'll see you at Citi Field. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.